Hi, my name is Matt Weatherly from Public Sector Personnel Consultants. Our firm was selected to conduct a classification and compensation study for the city. We wanted to take an opportunity to provide an overview and highlight a position analysis questionnaire that will allow you to review your job description. Our time together, as you review this video, I'll try to keep it fairly brief, but we wanted to give you a background on our firm, highlight kind of what to expect, what not to expect, hopefully anticipate a few questions here and there. And then I do have screenshots of the questionnaire, and I will attempt to maybe add just kind of a few notes and anecdotes to each section of the questionnaire, so that if at any time you want to come back and look at portions of the video or view the questionnaire and have a few kind of thoughts in your head, I'll try to share those. As our name suggests, Public Sector Personnel Consultants, or PSPC, this is all that we do. We do classification and compensation studies throughout the United States. Home base for a lot of our staff is either Texas or Arizona. We've had a chance to work with just over 400 cities throughout the United States. We've done quite a bit of work in Texas in the last 20 years. All that qualifies us to do is answer or ask good questions. What factors influence your city's ability to recruit and to retain staff? Are we able to fill positions when we post vacancies? Where do employees either come from, or if they leave us, where do they leave to? We want to make sure that we can answer some of those questions and more in order for the city to make informed decisions around salaries, benefits, total compensation. The study itself will take about 4 to 6 months, and it's very important that we distinguish a couple of things with this kind of initial slide here. The study is something that the city wants to do for you, not to you. Very important, not meant to be tongue-in-cheek at all, but it is meant to be a very positive exercise, one that allows for your participation and input, one that anticipates perhaps employees wearing multiple hats. So being sensitive to your actual job duties and not just your job title. The study itself is not intended to result in everyone seeing a pay increase. That's hopefully what either an annual review is for, what maybe your annual budgeting process is for. So if you're accustomed to a cost of living adjustment or a general increase or a merit review or a step adjustment, whatever might apply in your organization and on your current pay scales, if you have them, none of that goes away typically. We do not recommend anybody's pay be reduced as a result of the study. But if we come back with results that identify that we are behind market, we'll be able to formulate, I think, some good strategies around the data, even if it takes multiple budget years to catch back up to whatever our market is or whatever the market value is for each position. I would say that it's pretty common to have studies like this done every 4 to 6 years, at least in our travels. A lot of cities, counties, school districts, colleges, universities, so public or governmental agencies do studies pretty periodically to inform their budget process. It has been longer than that, I believe, for your city or since your city has undertaken a study like this. But it is intended to be a reference tool, not just for any upcoming budgeting, but also kind of set some patterns and some methodologies in place for ongoing maintenance. As I mentioned, it's not typically the tide that floats all boats. You don't typically see the results of a study be that everybody needs a certain percentage increase. That could occur, and that could occur maybe simultaneously with the implementation of the results, and I'll share a few thoughts on that in a minute. If I break the project into 2 major phases, the first is classification, the review of jobs, job titles, job descriptions. There may be 5 of you that currently have the same job title, but through this exercise, if you tell us, hey, we do very different things, we might decide to split that one job title out into 2 or more jobs. All we want to do is ensure that we have a really good understanding of the true number, type, and level of distinct jobs that will give us some insight into how to compare your jobs out in the market. The PAQ, the Position Analysis Questionnaire, is something that everybody will have a chance to look at and complete. You can complete it as a group, you can complete it individually. If you are cross-trained and you share your job duties and your job title with a lot of other employees and you want to fill out one questionnaire and put everybody's name on it, I want to reinforce that it is the job that we're studying, not the individual. However, maybe you have some shared job duties, but you want to fill out an individual questionnaire because you are the only one in your department, division, work group that perform some specific or specialized job duties. That is also perfectly acceptable. We just want everybody to kind of participate at the level they wish to give us insight into job duties and responsibilities. They will take an hour or two to complete. I would say try not to take more than 2 hours. We do want to give you city time to complete them. So work with your supervisors on when the timing might be good for you to fill one of those out over the next couple of weeks. I'll share those deadlines with you when we get into this questionnaire too. A couple slides about what I'll call the second phase of the study, or the second major portion of the study. We will be conducting a salary and a benefits survey. That data is typically collected from other cities. It might be on a regional basis. It might be even farther than that if we have to go find any specialized positions, which I do believe you have in utilities, electric utilities. Yeah, some of our clients have a golf course or an airport, or some other things that are fairly unique. And we have to be very intentional about trying to find other cities, perhaps of similar size, that also offer some of those services. The survey itself, we collect job descriptions, organization charts, pay plans, benefits data, and then we're in control of the job matching. So you give us information on your job description through the questionnaire. We try to go find it out in the market. We're going to build effectively a custom database that answers job by job this question here on this middle bullet here. Where are we compared to those we're competing with? How are we doing on pay and benefits compared to those that have jobs like ours? Right behind that is a philosophical question, if not a strategy, policy, and budget question. Where do we want to be, or where do we need to be in order to recruit and in order to retain staff? Let's say you have 30 or 40 job titles currently, and different job descriptions for those 30 or 40 job titles. If we're able to survey every job, the answer to this first question, how do we look, are we competitive, might vary. Yeah, depending on the job we're talking about. Maybe we have some jobs that are at market. That's great. Maybe we have some jobs that have slipped behind and they're 7% behind market or 10% behind market. How do we adjust to or adapt to that second question? Where do we want to be, or where do we need to be in order to recruit and in order to retain? So the survey informs part of that discussion, as does the budget, as does hopefully some good engagement with city council or their designees around, if we're not where we want to be, how do we achieve where we want to be? And if we can't get there all at once, how do we get on a path to ensure that our pay and benefits are competitive? Now, the intent of that is really recruitment and retention. And so about 90% of this entire exercise is a paper exercise. We're going to look at your job description. We're going to look at the job duties that you give us. We're going to pull job descriptions from the market. We will make some kind of anecdotal comparisons around, hey, are we competitive or not? Where it starts to move towards a people exercise is, how do we position your actual salary in a new pay range to ensure that not only our pay range is competitive, but your salary is also competitive? That's something that sometimes does take our clients multiple budget cycles to achieve. But all of our recommendations will be certainly subject to council approval, any budget constraints, but we'll be working fairly closely with city leadership, even though our study will be very independent of any undue influence from those parties. We definitely want to engage your stakeholders and your decision makers in this process along the way for a greater likelihood of acceptance of our study results and findings and recommendations. The PAQ, again, position analysis questionnaire, you will see an email, probably in conjunction with a link to this video, that will have a Word document attached to it, or a PDF fillable form attached to it. The questionnaire itself runs about 4.5 pages. There's some housekeeping on it and some signature pages on there, but the bulk of the questionnaire resides kind of in the middle 3 or 4 pages. Again, you can work on these as a group. It is not intended to be a writing contest. You are welcome to mark up a current job description and say, see attached. But the whole goal is to make sure that we understand your actual job duties so that we can go find it out in the market. If it has been some time since your job description has been reviewed, you may want to take a pretty close look at this questionnaire, if not start from scratch on the questionnaire, to ensure that the job duty is an accurate and current reflection of your job duties and responsibilities. Nobody will change what you give us on the questionnaire. You'll see our first deadline here, January 21st. We want you to turn in a questionnaire to your supervisor or to your manager or to your department head in a couple of weeks. They will have some time to review and sign off. We'll see kind of a signature page from them that really ensures that you didn't forget anything on the questionnaire. So nobody will change what you give us on the first 6 or 7 pages of the questionnaire, but there is room for comment to ensure that if there are any tasks that maybe you perform less frequently and you forgot to write them down, we just like to have extra sets of eyes on them to ensure your job description gets credit for those maybe more unique or more rarely performed job duties. The questionnaire starts, like I said, with just some housekeeping, your name, your job title. If there is a way to get in touch with you, so if you have a work email address or a work phone number, we certainly reserve the right to ask some follow-up questions for our understanding and clarification. Where do you fall on an organization chart? So go ahead and put your supervisor's name, job title, or department head name and job title on there, just so we can kind of find you in the organization. The bottom of page 1 becomes the top of a job description. This questionnaire in and of itself follows a pretty standard job description format, and most job descriptions right across the top have a summary statement, whether it's a definition, purpose statement, summary of the job, similar to what you might see on a job posting. We're challenging you here a little bit to think high level. When you ask, or when somebody asks you what you do for a living, what do you tell them? If you've got 30 seconds or you've got a minute, and somebody says, hey, what do you do for a living? This is that section. If you wear multiple hats and you want to draw a line and say, you know what, part of my time, I'm an accountant and I perform some general ledger duties and some accounting or kind of financial support types of duties. But the other half of my time, I'm a computer programmer and I provide some help desk support to end users. Those are 2 different jobs, right? Accounting is different from IT. And your organization is probably just the right size where some of you wear multiple hats. Maybe half the time you're a welder and half the time you're a heavy equipment operator. So in this section, think really high level for a minute. Think about your customers. Think about the purpose of your position and what role it plays in allowing your department or your division to provide services to, whether it's to the public, maybe you have frontline interaction with customers, citizens, residents. Maybe you're behind the scenes supporting those that do, but think really, really high level for a minute and give us kind of 2 or 3 sentences, 3 to 5 sentences that summarize your position. Feel free, if there are old or more recent job descriptions in the system for your job and you want to look at that to get some ideas, that's great. Don't feel like you have to copy and paste, because we will have a copy of all of those if they are available. Page 2 of the questionnaire, I think, will be everybody's least favorite page. It is pretty blank. Page 2 is intended to become the body of your job description, where we're writing down tasks, functions, duties, actions that you're taking. If work arrives at your desk and you're doing something to that work and it leaves your desk changed, tell us about that. 2 or 3 sentences for each major function. Maybe you're out in the field and you're operating a specialized piece of equipment. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about the purpose of that. Maybe you're working in an open trench and you're repairing utility lines by both operating heavy equipment to access those lines, as well as applying some knowledge and skills to how to repair a supply line or a collection line or that kind of thing. Maybe you're sitting at a desk where there's a lot of foot traffic and a good percentage of your time is meeting and receiving visitors, answering questions, routing employees routing visitors or citizens or phone calls to appropriate parties to allow the department to help, whether it's residents or customers. Lots of action words can show up on this page. If you'd like to organize your thoughts from most frequently performed job duties to least frequently performed, or what you feel are the most important job duties to less important job duties, there is nothing magical about 8. On this screen, we have 8 different blocks. You can tell us about 5 tasks. You can tell us about 15 tasks. If you want to attach additional pages, if it does come through as a Word document, the boxes will get bigger, so it will give you more space. So don't worry too much about spilling over onto extra pages. Or if you want to attach a marked up old job description, that is another really good way and a productive way to identify, hey, there are tasks on my job description that are old or that are obsolete. Those can go away, but there are 5 or 6 things that I need to tell you about that add up to the time that I give to the city. This does not need to add up to 100%, even if the instructions kind of encourage you to do so. I would just say if you have tasks that you perform every day, I would write those down. Label those as daily or as frequently performed. And then if there are tasks that you perform less frequently, but you believe they are important and belong on the job description, tell us about that. Say, hey, once a week, once a month, maybe quarterly, I've got some reporting or some paperwork to do. Tell us about that if you think that it's important. If we've successfully written down some job duties and responsibilities, the top of page 3, what do you have to know and what do you have to be good at in order to perform those job duties? Do you have to have knowledge of specialized accounting skills, or do you have to have some customer service skills, the ability to meet deadlines, resolve complaints, safely operate a specialized piece of equipment, safety guidelines for setting up a traffic diversion around a work site or a project site? And then are there information sources that you reference? Maybe an owner's manual, a trades manual, a procedure manual? Are there ordinances, statutes, codes that you're regularly referencing in the course of performing your job duties? So top of page 3, knowledge, skills, any sources of information. The bottom of page 3, we're looking for your opinion. Let's say you're promoted and we ask for your help in recruiting your replacement before you can accept that new position. What do you look for on somebody's resume? What do you look for on someone's job application? Or what did you have when you applied and started in this position? Does your job require a high school diploma and a couple of years of experience, maybe a 2-year or 4-year degree, or some specialized training, vocational training, an academy, anything like that? Give us an idea of any previous work experience that would be helpful in applying for this position. We're not going to classify you out of your job. You're already performing these job duties, but we're trying to get a sense of if we needed to post this position in the future, what types of candidates do we look for? What type of information do we look for as far as background goes? The next section, I believe the top of page 4, are there any licenses or certifications that are required? Do you have to have a commercial driver's license, a pesticide or herbicide applicator license? This could be water or wastewater or some type of electrical certification and training. Give us an idea if you have to have those licenses or certifications when you start on day 1 of your job, or if you can get those after you've been in your position for 6 months or for a year. The middle of the page, do you get any cool toys to play with? Are we operating just standard office equipment? Are we out in the field using hand tools, survey equipment, trucks, heavy equipment, personal vehicles, anything like that? And then for the Compliance with Americans with Disabilities Act, the bottom of page 4, does your body go through any unusual or specific physical demands? Are you doing a lot of standing, a lot of lifting, a lot of climbing, bending, carrying? Give us an idea of physically what somebody must be capable of if they were to apply for this position. Top of page 5, are you working out of doors? Are you working around live electric high voltage? Are you working around hazardous chemicals, infectious disease, standing water, hostile or combative individuals? Are any of your work exposures frequent enough that we definitely need to be aware of your working conditions? The bottom of page 5, when you showed up to work today or this week, how did you know what to do? Do you have specific work instructions? Are there detailed step-by-step instructions and you perform a task and you check in with somebody, and you perform another task and you check in with somebody? Or do you have complete latitude to decide what you're going to be working on? Maybe you are working on projects that span weeks or that span months, and because of your background or your training or your education or your experience, you know what to be working on in order to complete that project. Are there natural kind of touch points where your supervisor or manager is checking in, or you're checking in with them? Are there occasions maybe you're working out in the field and the supervisor or manager is back at an office and instructions are not provided? Give us an example, just a sentence or two in this section to give us an idea of how specific or general your work instructions are. The top of page 6, are you making significant decisions? What comes up that your supervisor or manager wants to be involved in versus what are you allowed to handle or sign off on? Are there very difficult decisions that you're making? Are they life and death? Are there consequences to the safety of the public and the citizens? Are there liability related types of decisions that you are expected to make on your own. Also in this section, it would be a good spot to tell us if you have any responsibility for the work being done by contractors, if you have any purchasing power where you're making decisions about spending money, requesting more help, acquiring more materials, give us an idea in this section. And then the bottom of page 6, who do you come into contact with? Kind of like in the opener, right? Do we have, inside the organization, are you working with other city departments, maybe to complete a staff report or pull data for budget tracking? And then outside the organization, are you interacting with citizens, with residents, with customers, with vendors, with neighboring cities, the county, the state, any other like compliance, enforcement, public safety types of agencies outside of your city? If you've made it this far, a couple of options. Certainly, if you fill it out as a Word document, save it to your desktop, keep a copy of your work. If you choose to print this out and fill it out in pen or pencil, make sure you sign and date and then drop it on a copy machine. Please keep a copy for yourself. If you fill it out as a group and you want to put multiple signatures on this page or attach a signature page, that's totally good. One more page for everybody to look at. It might not apply. You can leave it blank. Draw a line through it if it doesn't apply. But if you are responsible for the work of others, if you're a lead, if you're a supervisor, if you're a manager, tell us who and how many people you are responsible for. This could also be volunteers. This could be community service workers, could be interns. And at the bottom of this page, maybe you don't have the final say when it comes to hiring, firing, discipline. But if your supervisor or managers rely pretty heavily on your input for some of those personnel related decisions, tell us about that. There's a little check the box down there. You'll see maybe you're scheduling or you're helping teach new employees the tasks that are performed in your area. Page 8 will be the only spot that we want to see anybody else write on your questionnaire. Nobody is going to be allowed to change what you tell us on the first several pages of this document. But as I mentioned, it's really just in case we forgot something. So there's a spot here for supervisors or managers to add a few comments and then sign and get those turned into us by the end of the month. So I'll run through those dates in a moment. I would also encourage you, I think if you hand this to a supervisor to say, hey, before you give this to HR or before you turn this into the city manager's office, can I see any comments? Did I forget something? Can I see page 8 of my questionnaire if you write on it? So let me know, right? And that's a really good way, I think, kind of checks and balances to ensure really a mutual understanding of your job duties and responsibilities. So again, feel free to work with your supervisors, with your coworkers, not meant to be a writing contest. If you want to mark up a current job description, that's also a very productive way to participate. We are trying to study your job, not you as an individual, but it's very important that we create this opportunity for everybody to weigh in before we go try to find your job out in the market. As I mentioned, it'll burn through kind of a good 4 to 5 months, I think, by the time we get done with all of our study findings and recommendations. But we're looking for January 21st for you to turn these in to your supervisor, and then January 31st for departments to have them collected and turned in to the city manager's office. So January 21st, January 31st, we want to try and get all those questionnaires turned in into the city manager's office by the end of the month. Hopefully that provides you with a pretty good overview. If you have questions, certainly start with your supervisor, start with your manager. We'll do our best to communicate as well, both our progress as well as answer any questions that might arrive. I will stop my screen share and I will stop my recording. Certainly, thank you all for your time in viewing the video. Thank you in advance for looking at the questionnaire. Everybody be safe. I look forward to being able to see as many people in person as we can. Thanks.